Game Night Podcast, where the mission objective is to play more board games. Put your battle rattle on and mount up. Let's start the show. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Operation Game Night Podcast. I am your host, Travis Smith, and this is Operation Game Night episode 17. This is the podcast that is the reason for the season. Joining me, as always, is Santa's little helper himself, Clayton Gable. How you doing, Clay?
I'm doing great. I did have my first week off last week since we started this, and honestly, I feel a little rusty on the mic right now. But thanks for holding it down with that solo episode. That was awesome. It was actually nice to listen to our podcast and not have to hear myself drone on. So maybe you're in for some more solo episodes in the future.
I will say it's a whole different vibe just talking to myself and staring at a blank screen instead of staring at you and Jared. So I might have to take some pictures of you and like hang them up on my computer next time to have somebody to talk to, because it's very strange just talking to nobody.
Yes, I'm bad at talking to actual people, so I don't even know what would happen if I tried to stand here by myself and talk. But yeah,
I had to cut out about 20 minutes of dead air from that episode of me just staring at myself into the computer, and yeah, it was a little awkward, but we finally got it done.
Yeah, well, thanks for getting something out there. The listeners deserve our weekly podcast, so
yes,
Jared and I's fancy travels can't stop Operation Game Night.
Games don't stop, and neither do we. So we have a great show for you all today. We are going to do our holiday gift guide, OGN's official holiday gift guide. We got some great game recommendations. I'm going to cover some of the accessories. And I love my accessories for my games and upgrading components. So we're going to go over some of those. And then we're going to debrief our week. We're going to do our gift guide. And then we're going to go over the fence and outside the wire and talk about what we've been doing outside of gaming. So, Clayton, why don't you kick us off and debrief your last 2 weeks for us?
Well, I'm not going to put you guys through all that, but the game I want to focus on in the debrief today is Fromage, which just came out 2024 by Road to Infamy Games, by Ben Rossett and Matthew O'Malley. Yeah, so they put this out. I've been seeing people posting about this, and it's one of those things where you see a game and you just know I gotta have that game. I didn't really know anything about it, but when you see that the rolling hills of cheese on the cover, I was like, well, okay, this is now at the top of my must-have list. And it's rare that I go to a game store and have only one game in mind when I go there. Like, I just walked in and I was like, I'm walking out if I don't see Fromage. And I didn't know if it would be out yet. I'd just been seeing a bunch of influencers post about it. But there it sat in Gamers Haven. So I took out the credit card and I paid for it and I took it home. And now it's mine. And I'm very happy it is, because this is a super unique game. It is a simultaneous worker placement game that plays from 2 to 4. And essentially you are just making cheeses in these different quadrants of the board. So it's a big circular board and there's 4 quadrants. And in each quadrant there's a little like mini game with a bunch of types of cheese spread out. And that quadrant is going to have some certain scoring criteria at the end of the game. Additionally, in your quadrant, there's like a place to get resources. So on your turn, you can make one cheese in the little mini game in front of you with one of your workers, or you can, and you can also put a worker in the resource section to get resources. So everybody does that at the same time. So it's super nice. Like, I had not played a simultaneous worker placement game before, but I was super jazzed on the idea that you could all just sit there with your own little puzzle in front of you, do your thing. We all good to go? Yep. And then just rotate the board clockwise, and now you're now sitting with a new little mini game in front of you. So you have 3 types of workers: one to make blue cheese, one to make soft cheese, and one to make hard cheese. And so when you're looking at the little game in front of you, there are spots for the different types of cheese, hard, soft, blue, and you can decide to put your. It's kind of interesting at first because you're so used to like a Euro game where you have to spend resources to make something, and all you have to do in this is say, I want to make this cheese, and you put your worker there, and the resource you're really spending is time, because it has this interesting mechanism where your worker, so there's three different values of cheese. There's bronze cheese, silver cheese, and gold cheese. And if you decide to make a bronze cheese, your worker will be pointed to the right. So your worker's in the shape of this little cheese wedge, which is cool. And your worker's pointed to the right. And so when the board rotates, that worker is now facing you again. And so at the start of the next round, any of your workers that are facing you, you get to bring them back. But say you make a gold cheese, they're pointed off to the left. And so it's going to take 3 board rotations for that worker to come back. And so you only have 3 workers. So you're trying to manage like, okay, do I want to make this gold cheese that's going to be worth a lot of points in this area? Or do I want to make a bronze cheese and get it back right away? And it's the same thing with the resources in the area. Like you can point it to the right to get 1 resource. You can point it to the top to get 2, or to the left to get 3. And again, the more powerful the action you take, the longer you have to wait for that worker to get back. So super clever game. I don't know how well it'll hold up over time, but I played it once with myself and Mary, and we were done in like 30 minutes, which was nice. And then we played it with Scott and Brittany the other night, and it took like 30, like including the teach, including setup, including teardown, it took like 45 minutes. So it's a super quick game. It's that time component of deciding when you want to send your worker out, knowing that he might be gone for a little while, and then the different mini games in front of you. So one of them is like an area control of a different, like a map, and the more cheeses you have on that map, you get points for certain areas. And then one's like you're trying to create like a group of cheese, like a continuous orthogonal group of cheese. Another one, you're trying to create pairs of cheese on these different tables. And I think the last one is you're just trying to get a cheese on as many different tables as you can. Yeah. So yeah, the mini games are cool, and you can't do them all well. So you really have to time it up and be like, okay, the mini game I'm really trying to score hard on is coming next. So I want to make sure I definitely have a worker back for that, because you might have some turns if you planned it wrong where you don't have any workers at the start of your turn. That's just like, oh well, you just pass. Or you could utilize, so the resources in the game, there's cows, there's livestock. They're shaped in different ways, which can be confusing, but they all do the same thing. But essentially on your turn, if you have livestock, you can spend them to make a cheese in the quadrant in front of you for free. So in addition to the one you could make if you had a worker, you can also make one by just spending livestock. There's also these like fruits and berries that some of the cheeses on the mat will have a little like fruit symbol on it. And so to make that cheese, you have to spend one of your berries, and that's like another little mini game where you can either spend your berries to add like fruit flavor, or you can spend them to add jam flavor. And at the end of the game, like the amount of jams times the amount of fruit flavors gets you points. So if you only do jams, like 6 times 0, you get 0 points. So you got to kind of balance those. And then there's like order cards, and they're super simple. Like you get these and they just say, make a silver soft cheese. And whenever you do that, you can say that's a completed order and flip it over. And then based on how many completed orders you have at the end of the game, you get more points. But yeah, it's super approachable, easy to teach, fast to play at any player count. And I am super excited that I have it, and I'm like I it's one that you just want to show people because it's interesting with the workers how they like move around and have to face you to come back, and the cheese theme. I'm into it. I like a good food or drink theme in a game. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking out Fromage if you're looking for a. It's I think I consider it a gateway game. I think you could teach anybody how to play this game within reason. But yeah, Fromage is sweet. Oh, I bet you.
Which player count did you prefer to play at?
I liked it at four. In the
Okay.
they have ways to scale it for the two-player game, so they have these little mats that slide in under the different quadrants that will
Okay.
like occupy the different spaces, so they're like not available. So it tightens the board a little bit. But it was
Cool.
cool seeing everybody's different cheese colors out on the different areas of the mat. I bet you got those nice deluxe components too, didn't you?
I probably did. I honestly haven't opened it up yet, but yes,
Yeah,
I probably did.
yeah,
Knowing myself, I probably did.
yeah, man. But it's a cool game. I'm excited about it.
You think it's going to stay on your shelf long term?
I think so. There again. I don't get the time, or I don't have the energy, and I don't have the people to play some of the heavy Euro games that I might like to play. So having a game that no matter who you're playing it with or what player count you're at, you can get it done in under an hour
Yeah.
and still feel like you had a cool experience is probably something I'm not going to part with anytime soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. That this game would have made an awesome addition to Jared's boards and boards night.
Yeah, for sure. Which looking forward to hearing about that next week
Yeah.
on our podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
What you been
Um,
playing, man?
yeah, so we had some family in town basically throughout the entire last month of November. And so we got a lot of games played. A lot of lighter games that we've talked about before. We played Super Mega Lucky Box, Can't Stop, That's Not a Hat, and we actually played That's Not a Hat at 5 people.
No
And
way.
that is the way to play it. It's so much better than the small groups because
Really?
yeah, the second the cards that are moving around start to shift away from you, it's amazing
Okay.
how fast you lose focus. So
Jeez.
you know what you have, and then you flip it upside down, and
Yeah.
as the action migrates away from you, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, what is it? Was it a top hat? Was it a timer? Was it a hot dog? Like I completely forgot what I had,
So you guys
and
are playing it
so
right now.
we're playing it right now, or playing
No,
it correctly.
you're playing it correctly now
We are playing it
because
correctly
the
now.
the last we talked, you guys were incorporating some interesting house rules that I can't
No,
imagine
no, no.
made it easy.
We figured it out. We got this
Yeah.
down now.
Okay.
But yeah, we played it a couple times, and Rachel's parents loved it. They thought it was pretty good and a good memory exercise. So yeah, played a couple of like family lightweight games, and then my brother-in-law is big into Star Wars, so he requested that we play Star Wars Villainous and Star Wars deck building game.
Okay.
Uh, Star Wars deck building game, great as always. That game is so tight and so nice. My preferred way to play is the expanded galaxy version of it, which is basically like instead of the 3 home bases that you're trying to blow up on each other's sides, you play to 4 bases, and you can select from all the different bases that are available to both the Empire and Rebels.
Okay.
And it just balances it a little bit so that the Rebels actually have time to get their feet underneath them and start
Mm-hmm.
building their engine up a little bit, because we played at the three home base original version of it, and when the Empire will always stomp the Rebels every time in that mode. But if you
Yeah.
give them a little bit of like build up time, the Rebels can actually get their feet underneath them and start throwing down some big hits. So I
Sounds
barely
thematic.
squeaked out the win with the Empire in the expanded version. So
Okay. Nice.
And I know that the Clone Wars edition of this one just came out, and I'm really looking forward to getting that someday, but not at the moment. So that's on my wish list because I love this game. It's so
Yeah.
tight and so perfect. And then, so he wanted to play Star Wars Villainous,
Yeah.
and we kind of mixed and matched some heroes. He wanted to be uh, General Grievous. He played as General Grievous, and I played as Darth Vader. And the only other time that I played this game was with you, and then we were
Yeah.
like Moff Gideon, and I can't even remember who you
Oh,
were.
I was freaking Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, that's right.
Yeah.
And this game has kind of been looking at me on the shelf for a while now, and it's kind of been on the chopping block. It's kind of been on the chopping block for my shelf
Oh.
lately. Like, I did not really love it the last time we played. It was a
It,
little bit exciting because we were kind of
it
learning
felt
it as
like
we
it.
went.
Yeah, it felt like it drug on. Like it just kept like you almost won, then I
Yeah,
would shut you down, then I almost won, and then it just was like a constant. You felt like you could never get there.
yeah, yeah. Uh, and the only reason that was exciting was because we were learning it, and then I think it came down to the very last card. Like we were both on the
Yeah.
cusp of winning, and that was a little exciting. But I hadn't played it since, and the mechanics themselves are not all that interesting. It's like move, take the actions on the space, and then it's the
Yeah.
other player's turn.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've just been thinking about cutting this game from the shelf for a while now, and so we played it. And he was General Grievous. His objective was to get 8 Jedi lightsabers. I was Darth Vader, and my objective is to turn Luke Skywalker to corrupted or conflicted, and then get him in the throne room with the Emperor and Darth Vader. And I just like smashed my brother-in-law at this. Like, it was not even close. General Grievous had like maybe 3 of the 8 lightsabers he needed,
Oh man.
and I just think that this mechanic, like the mechanics of move, take the actions on the cards or on that space, and then let the other person go, it's just not all that interesting to me. And I think this is going to get the chop eventually because I just don't love these mechanics, and there's so many other great Star Wars games out there to play. This is not one that needs to be taking up space on my shelf.
Yeah, Villainous is a game that I really wanted to love because
Yeah,
again, you get all these awesome characters to play from these IPs that we love, and the production's nice. Like the little minis or whatever they are, they're like kind of
yeah.
abstracty looking
You're
versions
like
of the
player
character.
token.
Yeah, yeah, they're those are cool, and yeah, I played a bunch of the Disney Villainous ones. I played that one with you, and at the end, I don't like the fate cards and the ability for
Yeah,
people just to get in your way. Like I'm not opposed to player interaction, but it just feels. I just remember feeling frustrated. Like okay, I take one step forward and then 3 steps back because I
yeah.
just got 6 fate cards played on my player board.
Yeah, they do their best to make it feel thematic, and the stuff that you're doing feels thematic.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I think the mechanics and like the interactions themselves just never feel good. Me
yeah,
like taking 2 of your fate cards and just choosing one based on what I think will hurt you the most,
yeah,
and then taking my own like solitaire actions on my side of the table just doesn't feel very interactive, and it doesn't feel real cool. And there's probably like a much better way to you know play these games where those two villains are in direct conflict and like damaging one another or something like that, but that's not the game. So I don't know, this one will probably get the chop when I get back home, or
yeah.
maybe I'll give it to my brother-in-law, but I think it kind of soured him on the experience too because he
Yeah,
he just got blown out and there was nothing he could have done. So
yeah, that don't feel good.
anyways, yeah, on a much lighter note, the game that I really want to talk about is Rolling Heights, and that game is awesome. I really love that game. Um, so, Rolling Heights, you are basically city planners that are building a city with your construction crews, and you earn points by placing your building tiles of different varieties and building those towers to complete the buildings, which earn you different bonuses down the road. And you earn resources by taking a big handful of meeples and rolling them into your construction site box. And then you earn resources based on how they land in that box. If they're standing up, you get double the resource. If they're laying down, you get 0. If they're on their side, you get 1 typically. And there's some special characters in there, special meeples that earn you different victory points or buying power or different things like that. But for the most part, you're earning resources to place them onto the board to build your buildings. I, as a civil engineer and somebody who enjoys like city planning type stuff, I love this game. Really cool. I love chucking those meeples. The components all feel good. The board is broken up into these 6 different sheets, and the maps are all modular. So in the rule book, it says lay them out however you want, but for a 2-player game, all the A sides need to be up. And there's different configurations depending on your player count. But in the 2-player version, you have less land mass, and so you're building less buildings. My beef with this game was not in the mechanics or anything like that. It was how I set up the map originally. It doesn't really have a whole lot of recommendations on how to set up the map for maximum player interaction. And so I had this giant lake in the middle of the board and then a couple of islands around the outside. And so, like, I played with Rachel. Rachel was building on her island. I built on mine, and there was no interaction whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because when you first play your starting building tile, it doesn't say that they have to be next to each other or anything. It just says that they have to be a minimum of 2 spaces away.
Yeah.
And so we kind of played our own little solitaire game, which was kind of fun. And I will definitely give this a try with some different map configurations. But I just love chucking those meeples. You can't beat that. And then you
Yeah.
get additional meeples once you complete your building. Some of them give you different colored meeples that do different things. And yeah, chucking those meeples, and then the press your luck aspect of it is you can risk it to rally your workers. So you pull out all the ones that are standing up. You grab all your lazy, laying down, not working meeples, and you chuck them again. And if you don't get any that are standing up in the box the second time, standing up or laying on their side, then your workers go on strike, and you have to lose half of your resources that you had earned previously, rounded down, I believe. So yeah, press your luck, dice or meeple chucking, city planning, and strategic layout of different buildings, all great. This game is sticking around for a while because I love Rolling Heights.
Heck on, man. Yeah, I actually got rid of Rolling Heights,
Oh,
and
you're the one that
it's
convinced me to get it because you were talking it up so much.
I know I it was one that I have fond memories of playing because again, it might be gimmicky, but rolling meeples into a box and they have these clever ways of they're like, oh, you're working hard or you're
Yeah,
working like if they're standing up they're working hard meeple and they're gonna get you double and that's just such a fun gimmick and the colorful meeple variety you have and like it's like a bag building game of meeples of different colors
yeah.
which is awesome and I loved that part of it but for whatever reason I always hesitated to get it out again. I played it maybe 3 or 4 times and then it just sat there and then every time I'd
Mm.
look at it I'd be like I just remember those freaking cubes being a pain, like just like kind of annoying to manage, stacking
Yeah.
them, and kind of fiddly. Um, and then if I wanted that push your luck dice pool building type of feel, I just go for uh, cubitos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of in
and
the same vein.
yeah, and they're both AEG. I think did John D. Clare design Rolling Heights too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, eventually it just sat there long enough. I'm like, I just keep going back to cubitos instead when I'm in the mood for colorful dice and uh, getting dice with different powers. And I didn't want to have to deal with the fiddliness of trying to build these little statues next or these little towers next to each other. But it is a fun game, and like I would definitely play it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just at the end of the day, every now and then I gotta get rid of good games because I want to buy more games. And
Yeah.
Rolling Heights was probably I remember when I had it on the stack, I was like, do I really want to get rid of this? But I was
Yeah.
just in that zone where I was like, I got to get rid of some games so I can justify getting more. And so Rolling Heights got needlessly sacrificed.
Yeah. So the cool thing is, I actually bought this one from the AEG booth when I was in when I went to Essen last year,
Yeah.
and it came with the two expansions that they've released, or the two promos rather. And so one of them is a waterfront properties expansion, and so it has a bunch of special buildings that have to be next to water, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, the buildings are largely the same. You build them the same way. They just earn you different bonuses and stuff like that. And then it came with another one that has a big ape expansion, aka King Kong.
Yeah.
And so after you're done playing the game, all the you've run out of a certain resource and you total up all your scores and everything, then it becomes a dexterity game for cleanup basically. And so the player that won or had the most points takes this big ape meeple that's like maybe an inch tall. It's bigger than the buildings most of the time. And you are trying to drop this ape from shoulder height. You stand up and you drop it from shoulder height and try and knock over the towers that are 4 cubes or higher. So you drop it, you see how many you knock over, and then you take the ape meeple and you put it on top of a tower that's 4 cubes or higher. And the opponent that lost, or the people that lost, become the army that's trying to take down the big ape or King Kong. And they drop meeples at your big ape to try and knock him off the tower.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
you're knocking over towers all over the place. The cubes go everywhere, but it basically turns cleanup into a dexterity game. The ape is trying to knock over all the big towers that are 4 or greater cubes, and the army that is collected to fight off King Kong is trying to knock him off the tower 3 times before he can knock over all those towers. So kind of a
That's
creative way to
yeah.
like twist the cleanup, but it's kind of gimmicky and silly, and it
Yeah,
was
that's
fun.
preposterous. But that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I had heard people talk about that, but not in as with as much eloquence as you just did. So I just assumed the ape meeple was just like you throw it at it and make a big mess at the end of the game, and that was like what the point of it. But it sounds like there actually is a legitimate air quotes dexterity game there that you guys
I
can
mean,
play.
you still make a big mess of things, and
Yeah.
it did kind of hurt my heart a little bit because I was dropping this big chunky ape meeple from shoulder height, and I'm a tall guy, and so I was actually putting little like dings in the cardboard
Ah,
with this. Yeah, I wasn't like throwing it or anything, but the ape meeple has some sharp edges, and so that doesn't feel great.
yeah.
And then after I was done rolling my meeples in my little worker zone box thing that they have, I could definitely see like some little dents in the bottom of the box, which did
Oh,
not feel great either. I hate degrading board games like that. So I don't know. I still love the game. I think it'll stick around for a while, and I definitely need to look up online some ways to build the map in different ways to encourage more player interaction. But for what it's worth, I love Rolling Heights. It was great.
yeah. I can't really argue. I only remember having fun during the course of playing it. So
Yeah,
yeah, freaking John DeClaire. He's a designer that I look out for when he does something.
yeah. Kind of a sleeper agent, but his games are always good.
Yeah, Dead Reckoning he designed.
Yeah, he's got some bangers.
Yeah.
Awesome. You got anything else to debrief?
I mean, I could give a quick shout out to another game. I am like the target audience for all things board game influencer because if I hear people talking about it, I should probably just shut down on Instagram. It's probably hard to do now that we are a podcast that relies on engagement here, but um, people have been talking about Flip 7, and
Oh,
you guys know I am a sucker for Push Your Luck. And Flip 7, I got it. It was like $12. Sorry, I bought it on Amazon.
oh.
Petrus, I got you. But Yeah, it is just a pure push your luck card game, and I've played it a couple times now, and its simplicity just I will probably take this everywhere I go forever because it's just so fun. Like the fact that so in it you're basically just trying to not bust and get the most points every round. And the deck is made up of cards from 0 to 12, and it's like one of those games where there's only one number 1, there's two number 2s, there's three threes.
Yeah.
So the higher up the deck you go, the more the card there is. But those cards are worth more points. So if you get a 12 in front of you, it's worth 12 points.
Hmm.
And so it's like blackjack. Every time you come around your turn, you have cards in front of you and you decide whether you want to hit or pass. So if I have a 12 in front of me, I'm going to score 12 points. But I could hit and try and get another card to score some more points.
Hmm.
And um, if you ever get 7 cards, they're different values. That's why it's called flip 7. You get an additional 15 points at the end of the round.
Ooh.
So you're kind of like always tempted by that. But if you get like a 12 and 11 in your first two, there's no way you're not busting because they're so common in the deck that you'd be foolish to keep going. But if you got like ones, twos, threes, they're not worth many points anyway. You might as well keep pushing. So I just think that's such a cool. It seems like it should have been done before, and it probably has in some form or fashion. But you know, like the fact that the easier cards to bust on are worth more points, and the
Yeah.
lower cards are not worth many points. So it encourages you to keep pushing your luck. It's just fun, and it's the first person you just keep playing rounds until someone gets to 200 points. There's some like special cards in there that'll either double your score or you can um, like a second chance. They'll let you bust without consequence, and then you just get to continue in the round. Um, but yeah, for someone who loves push your luck and just the excitement of seeing people bust and or hit it big, like it's an exciting game, and I am glad to have it, and I will probably have it forever.
That sounds like a great stocking stuffer game this year.
It's not on my list, but I didn't
Yeah,
want to
that
be too
sounds
cult to
awesome.
the new.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to add that to my wish list. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and then it's so easy to pick up for anybody. I mean, you literally
Is it
just
like literally just a deck of cards?
yeah. I mean, it's got those few different action cards in there, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a deck of cards, and you can
I
literally
mean,
just.
I guess I mean like box size. Like, is the box size just a deck of cards, basically?
Of course not. I mean, it,
Oh,
it is just a deck of cards in the box, but it is a box that is bigger than it should be for just a deck of
oh,
cards.
of course. You got to
Yeah,
make it. Got to
yeah,
give it some shelf presence.
yeah. It's cool. It's cool.
Nice. Are we ready to move on to our holiday gift guide?
Let's hit the mission objective, Travis.
Let's fall in on the mission objective, which is our Operation Game Night gift guide. So we're going to go through and we're going to make some recommendations on what you should get the board gamer in your life this year. Or maybe you have a fellow board gamer, or maybe you need to gift something to your game group. So we're going to do some stocking stuffers, some family games, two-player games, and then gifts for the serious board gamers with a capital G. So, Clay, you have anything to say before we jump in on our gift guide?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I watch these gift guides and listen to these gift guides every year, and I have nobody in my life that wants me to get them a board game. So at the end of the day, I'm just watching them for good game ideas to buy myself. So if that's the boat you're in, I feel you, and I struggle to know the target audience when I'm like putting this together because I really feel like most gamers that watch these are like you probably don't have that many people in your life that you're just buying board games for, and if you are, they're probably not happy about it.
I mean,
I
that's
try,
fair.
yeah, but
Yeah, get some gifts for your game group, or
yeah,
just buy these gifts for yourself.
yeah,
It's okay to give yourself a
or
gift.
send this podcast to somebody who you want to buy gifts for you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That's a great idea. Yeah, and just for the listener, we will list all of the games that we mentioned in the show notes. So if you maybe missed something, we're gonna fly through these pretty quickly. So If you missed something or you want to see the list of games again, I will post it in the show notes so you can go and reference it there. Clay, why don't you start us off with stocking stuffers? What games are in the stocking?
So, stocking stuffers, small games. I love me some small box games. So this was hard, but one that has consistently been a hit for me, and I think will be a hit for the person who's stocking you stuff with it is Sea Salt and Paper.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, Sea Salt and Paper is a great little card game. It doesn't deserve to be as good as it is because it seems like yeah, that's just another card game, but for whatever reason there's some magic there to the set collection and the limited information you get to know about what the other people might be doing, and the fact that you can kind of decide when to end the round and you're kind of taking a gamble on it. It's a great game. It's a awesome artwork, and I've always had a good time playing it at any player count. Mary and I love playing this at 2, and I've played it many times at 4 or 5, and it's still a good time. So, Sea Salt and Paper is the first one going in the stocking for me.
yeah, that's a great one. I think my first one, although I said I was going to mainly focus on accessories, I think my first one, and tell me if I'm stepping on your toes, is going to be Gnar.
Oh, nope, not on my toes.
Oh, okay. Gnar is a new-ish game, came out in 2023, I believe, and Gnar is about building an engine to buy resources for Vikings that are exploring new lands. Super easy to pick up and learn. Clay mentioned it on a previous episode, so if you want to go back and listen to the episode where we talk about Gnar, he does a good description there. But it's it was touted as like the Splendor killer at the time. It certainly has not replaced Splendor for us, but yeah, Gnar is great, and it's in a small box that will definitely fit in a stocking.
Yeah, that's a great one. Next up for me, I have Coloretto. This
Ooh,
is an older game, but a great one. It's in a tiny box, as you would expect for a stocking stuffer, but essentially you are creating these piles of cards, and so on your turn, you have to decide whether you want to add a card to one of the piles or if you want to take one of those piles for yourself. So you can only do one of those things, and if you decide to keep adding cards to piles, you might be making it better for somebody else and they might take what you want. So it's an interesting choice when to decide to take the pile versus throw a card on another pile, and you're kind of looking at what other people have and trying to put stuff they might not want on a pile to deter them from taking it, or at the very least impact their scoring in a negative way. So super interactive, 15 to 20-minute game. Have had a ton of fun with Coloretto.
nice, good recommendation. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit and talk about some accessories because I love accessorizing my games, and there's so many resources out there to upgrade your games and in your game components nowadays. So first off, I'm gonna mention card sleeves. I know a lot of people won't advocate for card sleeves. It's extra plastic, and most people won't play card games enough to wear down their cards. But I'm a sucker for putting cards in card sleeves for my game. I There's something so satisfying about that. Even if you don't play that game enough to wear those cards down, there's something so satisfying about sleeving those cards.
It's therapeutic,
And
man.
yeah, and Board Game Geek, Board Game Geek recently added that sleeve it feature to their different game pages. So if you have a loved one that loves a game that involves cards, go on Board Game Geek, look up the game, and there's a little blue tab that says sleeve it, and it'll tell you what sleeves to buy for that specific game because there's something so satisfying about sleeving your cards for your games, and that would be a great stocking stuffer for me.
I just experienced the first game that I have that I'm like, dang, I wish I had sleeved those cards because we've played
Mm.
it enough now that the cards are starting to look a little ratty and it's upsetting me. And that's Marvel Splendor. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm upset that I haven't been on my sleeve game, and now I'm looking at Marvel Splendor with these raggedy looking cards. But yeah, good choice.
excellent. What's next?
Next up for me, I have a game I talked about recently, a new game, The Gang, the cooperative Texas Hold'em game. So if you have got somebody who likes gambling or playing Texas Hold'em, you can go ahead and throw this little, yeah, $15 game in their stocking and see if they get a kick out of trying to deduce each other's um, hand strengths during the gang.
Yeah, that one sounded awesome, and I've seen that out in the wild, so it's pretty readily available, and you can find it at your friendly local game store. Next is going to be dice trays for me. I love a good dice tray. Rachel got me some really nice ones a couple years ago, and they made great stocking stuffers. She found these ones that are leather, but they fold up in the corners and they have little snaps. And so when you break them down, they go completely flat. But then when you're ready to game, you snap the corners and they pop back up into little dice trays. And those have been super convenient and easy to store and are just like readily available. You can throw them like in the laptop holder of your backpack and they don't take up any space. So yeah, those dice trays are great stocking stuffers for loved ones that love to roll some dice or maybe chuck some meeples. Maybe they're playing
Ooh.
some Rolling Heights and need to chuck some meeples. So yeah,
Daggone
dice
meeple
trays.
chuckers. How deep we going on these different categories? I mean, I can go. I can keep rattling, but
I think this is like my main category, stocking stuffers.
okay. Well, I'll give one more just to try and keep pace with you here. The last small box game. Anybody that's been around board games for a while will be very familiar with this one, and it is Scout.
Hmm.
So Scout originally, I I don't know what they got going on in Target, but it was Oink Games. I don't know if Oink Games made it look different to put in Target, but it's now like at Target in like a Uno type box. So
Really?
it's very available, very affordable, but it's a fun shedding ladder climbing game where the hook is when you get your cards, you can't reorganize them in your hand, and when someone plays something out on the table, you can either beat it by playing something stronger than it, or you can scout their act and take some of the cards and place them into your hand wherever you want. So that's like how you can kind of manage what runs and sets you have in your hand is by taking cards that other people have played and slotting them into your static hand. So Scout's awesome, fun game. I don't play it enough. I don't play any game enough, but this one like I will always recommend it, and it fits
Yeah.
great in the stocking whether you get the Oink version or the one I've been seeing at Target. So check that out.
To be fair, the Oink version it is a little difficult to get everything into that tiny little box because it is so nice and compact. But
Yeah.
yeah, they did the same thing with like Cat in a Box, and it came in this little tiny flat box originally, and now it's in this like much larger like 4x6 box. I don't know what happened there, but yeah,
Oh.
those are great stocking stuff for games. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Upgraded Components. If you
Mm.
have a loved one that has a game that they love and they're playing with these bland little cubes or resources or whatever, upgrade their components for them. There's 1,000 3D printed components on Etsy and eBay and all these places. Board Game Geek has their geek market where they sell upgraded components for certain games. Go out and buy them a nice canvas bag if they're drawing anything out of bags or need to organize things. Love a good bag, chef's kiss.
Mm.
Uh, or my personal favorite, the metal coins. I am a sucker for metal coins. If any game that your loved one plays involves any sort of money, go out and buy them some generic metal coins because those are always so nice that people are always wowed by a nice heft of coins in their hands. So yeah, those will make awesome stocking stuffers this year.
Man, I've been go. I took the pirate metal coins I got from Dead Reckoning, and when the kids and I play Captain Flip,
Oh yeah,
we use those metal coins, and
nice.
it feels awesome. So, are we ready to press on from stocking stuffers, or you
Yeah, let's
got?
do it.
All right. So first up in the family games category for me, I have River Valley Glassworks, which
Ooh,
is a new game by All Play. It kind of feels Azul like when you're playing it because there's this river and there's different sections of the river with these little glass works in them, and you have to pick one of those sections of the river to take the glass from, and you're just trying to collect these different types of glass on your board with this like interesting scoring track that they're on. So like if you get 3 different colors of gems, you put them on your board, and the first column of colors you put down aren't going to score you that many points for getting a bunch. But as you get a more diverse collection of gems, you're going to get points for that. But also, the further down in the columns, as you start stacking them up the columns, the ones down at the end are going to get you a freaking ton of points because you've collected them later. So it's fun, so lightweight. I mean, you take gems or you that's pretty much it. You take gems or you refill your little bag that you use to grab the gems. Anyway, River Valley Glassworks, fun 20-minute game. Families definitely would enjoy. So check it out if you haven't. If you think Azul might just be a little too much, this is probably just a little bit easier to kind of explain how things are working.
Nice. Good one. I'm going to go ahead and say Dice Miner for my first one. Dice Miner is always a hit when it's busted out. You have this nice little kind of 3D cardboard mountain that sits in the middle of the table. You fill it up with dice. You kind of pour them out of the bag, and whichever side is showing on this little 3D mountain, that's the side that you're using. Players take turns drafting off the top to either create different sets or to do damage or to do these different things. And if you ever end up with a beer in front of you, like a little beer mug, you can roll that beer at another player to give them a bonus and yourself a bonus. And this game is always a hit. You can teach it to anybody. Super lightweight. Dice Miner is great. I love Dice Miner.
Yep. Never had people not enjoy Dice Miner. Always smiles. My next one for a family game is Robot Quest Arena.
Ooh.
So if you've been around,
is this an Isaac shout out?
Yeah. So if you've been around since the episode where I brought my snot-nosed kids on, you will have heard Isaac say that Robot Quest Arena, I think he said it was his favorite game.
Yeah.
And he is always clamoring to play it. He's probably on the young side at 6 to be playing it, but it goes to show you, like, even young kid, if the kids can read, it'll make a good family game. And it's exciting. It's got these beautiful minis that are fun to play with for the whole family. You're deck building and getting weapons for your little robot to fight in the arena, and basically you get points for every time you hit somebody else. So when you knock health off of somebody else, you take their health as a point for you. So it just is encouraging you to just go out there and smack each other in this arena and upgrade your robot by buying cards. And my kids love it. I love it. I want to play this with adults at some point, but because I still think it would be fun. But Robot Quest Arena is a great little deck building game that is approachable.
Nice. Good one. I'm going to go ahead and shout out Splendor because we play Splendor a lot in our family. And although I don't have kids that are of game playing age, we still love Splendor. You can teach it to anybody, and people will understand that you are just drafting different gems to then buy cards that then count as gems later on. And it's like baby's first engine builder, and it's competitive in all the right ways. And we play this probably more than any other game when people come over is Splendor, because it's probably my wife's favorite game at this point is Splendor. So
nice.
We get a lot of plays out of that, and that is also our game that it has like the ratty cards now because we've played it so much. So
yeah, gotta sleep that, Travis.
Yeah, I know.
It's too late. Damage is done. My next family game, my last family game, is Planet Unknown. So this was one of the first games I talked about on our episodes, but I just recently played it again, so it's top of my mind. I just think it's a great little polyomino Tetris-y game, and gives you enough to think about. It plays quick at no matter the player count, because like Fromage, you're spinning this Lazy Susan around, and you can take a tile from the section that's in front of you, and you're all doing that at the same time, placing it onto your little planet, and then moving up the tracks associated with the tile. And it's just a fun, rewarding game that I think many families could have a good time with. Might be a little much for my kids' age is at 8 and 6, but I think, you get to 10 and up. That's a very approachable game that you could play with the family.
Nice, good one. I am going to call an audible. I know that I sent you a bunch of stuff. Mainly it was shoutouts for Jared, which were, Bonanza, which could be a stocking stuffer game.
Yeah.
And then Marvel United, we've talked about a whole bunch on here, but
Yeah.
I'm going to call an audible and say Thunder Road Vendetta. It's got a
Ooh.
1.93 weight on Board Game Geek, and it's ages 10 and up, but the community says 8 and up. It's pretty simple car battler. I think even kids could get really into the car battling aspect and the race around the track, and it's super thematic, little Mad Max type theme board game. So
Yeah.
Thunder Road Vendetta. Plus, it's kind of the new hotness right now. It kind of just came out to Kickstarter backers. You can find it in the wild. So
Yeah.
Thunder Road Vendetta is going to be my next family game.
I'm fresh out of family games, so if you want to rally some more off, you go ahead.
No, I'm good. Let's press the 2-player games.
Okay, so 2-player games. This is a fun one because if you're out there and you're a gamer and your significant other might not be that into gaming, this is a fun way to trick them into getting them a gift that is actually for you. So look at that. Or if you know a couple and you're like, man, that couple should spend some more time together. These are going to be some good games to build that relationship of a 2-player game. Or maybe you just got a buddy you want to play games with. And you're like, man, me and Travis, we need to get down with some 2-player games together. We got a list for you. Yes. All right. The first one I have is Caper Europe.
Oh, yes. That's a great one.
Caper Europe is so good. I mean, there's a million games out there that are kind of like this lane battler type game where you're tug-of-warring between different areas and you have to balance your presence in the different areas. But the way Caper Europe does it, I just love it. So you alternate between these rounds where you're playing thieves to these 3 different locations. And then in the next round, and you're like passing the cards back and forth during this 2-player draft. And then the next round, you get these equipment cards to give to your thieves that you have at the different locations. And you just go back and forth drafting, doing thief rounds, doing equipment rounds. And they're all like moving these little pieces back and forth as you tug of war for these different areas. And you're also trying to steal gems from the areas and collect them to get points. And it's a beautiful production. Awesome game by Keymaster. Highly recommend for a 2-player audience.
Plus, the production on this one is super nice.
Yes.
I don't know if you have a special edition or whatever, but like the velvet lined board.
That's just the regular edition.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you
Keymaster crushed it.
Yeah, that's a great one. My first one's going to be Sky Team. I got this last year, and it has been a hit ever since. It's a 2-player cooperative game where you're trying to land a plane, and it does handle communication and the interaction between the pilot and co-pilot a little strangely, because once you roll the dice, you're not supposed to talk with one another, but you're basically rolling dice secretly behind a little shield. One person plays pilot, the other plays co-pilot, and every turn you're trying to allocate your dice that you roll to these different spaces to put the flaps up and to throttle down and to apply the brakes and to do all these different things to make sure that you are level and have the gears down and all this stuff. You're basically hitting a checklist before you hit the ground. The base game, or the first round, you play it bare bones, not a whole lot of other added complexity to it. You're like, okay, we did it, it's fine. But then you start adding in the different airports that you're landing at, the different modules with like leaking fuel or the crosswinds and stuff like that. And this game gets really complex and pretty awesome really fast. So I've played it with a bunch of the different modules. The leaking fuel, you have to add a dice to the leaking fuel gauge to prevent you from losing a whole bunch of fuel right off the bat. So every turn somebody has to put a dice or a die at the fuel tank or whatever in that space. The crosswinds, you have to continually use the rudder to like straighten yourself out. Some of the airports that you're landing at have mountains and stuff that you're trying to avoid. So you have to roll and pitch and do all these things to avoid the mountains as you approach. And some of them I've landed at those airports and it is 100% accurate that you have to do that type of stuff when you're coming in for landing. So, yeah, Sky Team is a great 2-player game, and it won the Spiel des Jahres last year. So it's a hot game and would be greatly appreciated for 2-player games.
Yeah, just this weekend, Spanky had his brother-in-law in town, and he's he's board game curious, and he's excited, and so he came over to borrow a bunch of games, and he took Sky Team, and they've played it a few times. Apparently, having a really good time with it. So,
Nice.
definitely a great 2-player option. The next one I have is Tokaido Duo.
Oh, nice.
So the regular Tokaido didn't really hit for me. It was fine, forgettable. But Tokaido Duo is in a small little box, and it's just a chill game. And you are moving around the board, and you are trying to. You have like 3 little mini games you're trying to do, and so you're managing that. And it's just got a nice presence, quick game, and yeah, if you're just looking to relax with somebody in the evening, I would suggest giving Tokaido Duo a try. It's easy, and it definitely fills that void of like Mary and I are don't want to get into anything serious, and we can just, you know, Tokaido it out. Have you played this?
Nice, good one. I have not, but I've watched a couple videos on it. It seems really cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
My next one is going to be Wild Duo. I've talked a lot about this, so I'm going to skip over it. But Wild Duo is actually a set of 5 different 2-player games, and each of those games has both a basic mode and an advanced mode. So you have to kind of change your strategy for both. They're both animal themed, so if you have an animal lover in your life, this is a great gift for them. It's by Marcus Durr and produced by Treacer Games, I believe, published by Treacer Games. So Wild Duo is 2024 production and still hot and new. So if you have an animal lover in your life, go out and get Wild Duo.
Are we continuing on 2-player,
No,
or you got more?
one other shout out is
Yeah.
Kelp Shark versus Octopus.
Oh yeah.
Also on the newness, also very hot, also awesome production. So Kelp Shark versus Octopus is also a great 2-player recommendation from 2024.
All right.
Let's move on.
Should we move into the serious gamers, the people that want to get weird with strategy?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. The first one, this is the only game I think I've ever recommended that I don't actually own. Usually if I like a game even a little bit, I'm buying it. I am not Jared, but considering I don't get to play like the crunchy hardcore games as much as I used to, I don't rush out to buy them as quickly, but ever since I played Revive, it's been stuck in my head. That was just such a cool Euro game. Um, you're just expanding out on this map. You have this interesting player board where you play these different cards to take actions, and you either use the top of the card or bottom of the card. You get these modules where you can kind of build a tableau to upgrade those action spots. And yeah, it was a cool game. And I think if you have somebody that's into the heavier stuff and likes a nice little Euro game, I think Revive would be a choice they would be very happy with.
Nice.
Yeah.
My first shout out is going to be Trolls and Princesses. Give me just a second. Let me pull this one up.
I never even heard about this game, Travis.
Trolls and Princesses, 2023 publication by Game Brewer. This game came out last year. I think I backed it on Kickstarter. It's a little heavier. It's a weight of 3.15 on Board Game Geek, but it's basically a worker placement game where you are playing as trolls that are raiding a village. And so every night you're sneaking into the village and you're stealing their livestock, you're stealing babies out of their cribs, you're stealing princesses away to your cave troll or your cave system that you're building out, and you can continue to upgrade your cave system to fit more supplies, to upgrade your worker placement, and it's pretty complex and pretty cool. Great decision making, competitive resource snatching. You actually feel like you're like taking things away from these different these different areas of the town, and you're trying to steal the bell towers away from the village. So it's pretty thematic, pretty cool. I have a copy of it, and I'm sadly not getting it to the table all that often, but I have played it before. And Trolls and Princesses is a great game if you love worker placement.
Right on. I'd never heard of that, but it sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
Um, the final one in my serious gamers category, and the final one for me, period, dot, is Arcs.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, Arcs, another leader game, the latest one. It is a epic space battle, which is fueled by a trick-taking action selection mechanism, which is super unique and gives you these agonizing decisions about when you want to be in the lead and when you can follow to optimize your actions, and you're just in each other's faces on this space map. So if you got somebody who likes the games of conflict, maybe they played Twilight Imperium, maybe they're into Root already, and they don't already have Arcs, they're probably gonna like it. So put that on your holiday gift guide shopping list because it is a
And
great
pretty
game.
affordable too, right?
Yeah, I think the base game would probably be like $60. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just speaking out of the
Yeah.
term probably, but that sounds right.
That's a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Any leader game you can play over and over and over again, and just continually find new ways to experience and exploit it. So, yeah, check out Arcs for yourself or for somebody. All you parents out there that have somebody that is a board gamer in your life, and for whatever reason you're listening to Operation Game Night
Which you
without,
should be.
yeah,
Which you should be.
without being interested in board games otherwise, I'm glad you're here, and now you and now you know what to buy that person. So,
Perfect.
Travis,
I'm
what's
going to go
yours?
rapid fire through my
Okay.
last couple, which will be Soul, Last Days of a Star. That is SOL, Soul. I heard Candace from Board Game Geek podcast rant about this one basically every week. I think it's her favorite game. And I
Dang.
was like, all right, this sounds awesome. I'm going to try check this out. And basically, you are sun divers. The sun's about to explode, and you are sun divers that are flying your ships down into the sun to collect resources and then get back out to reap those resources as efficiently as possible before the sun explodes.
Ooh.
The cool part about this one is as you build your different space stations and stuff around the sun, you can use other people's uh, stations to dive down into the sun and to slingshot around these different bodies that are rotating around the sun. But although that might be more efficient to get down and back, you're also giving the people that own that space station advantages. And I'm using all these terms kind of loosely. I know that there's specific names for all of these different, ships and stations and all this stuff. But basically, you're balancing your need to collect resources as fast as possible before the sun explodes with potentially giving your opponent an edge because you use their space station to get down and back. So, Soul, Last Days of a Star is a great recommendation.
Keep them coming.
Next one, Wonderland's War. I
Oh.
have waxed poetic about this game forever. The base game is actually pretty inexpensive. You can go out and get it. You don't need all the meeples and everything. Just get the standees, get all the basic stuff. It is a great area control, area majority, uh, worker placement style game, and
Bag
the
building. Don't
strategy.
forget bag
Oh,
building.
bag building and bag. Oh, if you like pulling chits out of a bag and battling with your chits and bluffing and I can go on forever about Wonderland's War, but go out and buy it. It's great. It's whimsical. It's immersive. Probably one of my favorite games. So, and then finally, I'll end with Barcelona. Again, big city building Euro style game where you are building out the city of Barcelona. They are actually the city that invented the grid system that we use today, and so you are building out the city of Barcelona with all its monuments and different regions and districts and stuff. And it's a really cool Euro-y city building game. So Barcelona is also a recommendation, and they just had uh, a new expansion for it. So those are my big heavy games for serious gamers with a capital G.
Yeah.
Did we do it?
We did it. That is a gift guide that you can take to the bank
Yes, so I think people would be happy with any of those gifts at this point.
Yeah, including especially me. So for all my family that I know listen, I have most of these, but Revive, if you're listening, that I wouldn't mind having that one.
If you're listening and you want to buy us a gift, just go ahead and reach out to us on Instagram at Operation Game Night,
Yeah, we'll tell you
and
all the gifts we want.
yeah, yeah, we'll give you our wish list. So okay, let's wrap this up and go over the fence. So Clayton, what have you been doing outside of board gaming?
No, Travis, I got a lot. Wanted to get off my chest in this section, but I don't
Yeah,
want
let's do it.
to. I Let's take it from the top.
Okay.
I'm wearing this for a reason. For the listener, not on YouTube, I've got a Pokemon shirt on.
With
Pokemon.
which Pokemon?
Well, that's freaking Charmander.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't paint a good enough picture with my words. But anyway, I started playing the Pokemon Pocket TCG on
Yeah.
my phone. And I really did not expect much out of this because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll download it. I think I heard Jamie from Stonemeyer Games talk about it in one of his like weekly game
Yeah.
things. I was like, you know what? I have dabbled in TCGs now, and I had fun for a little while playing Pokemon. Like I obviously played Pokemon growing up. I'm freaking a '90s kid, so Pokemon will never not be cool to me.
Yeah.
And so I had been learned like within the last year how to play the actual like game and build your deck and battle, and not by the kindergarten rules where it's just like my card's cooler than yours, so I win. Uh, but anyway, so I was into that for a little while. Haven't done it in a while, but I got downloaded this, and it's super fun. Like I did not think collecting cards on a app would be as satisfying as it is, but without spending any money, you can open 2 packs a day.
Yeah.
And then there's ways to get like stamina that lets you in, open more potentially depending on like if you battle or complete these missions. But I've got like 400 cards collected now in the past few weeks, and I got some sweet ones. And it really does feel exciting when you open a pack and you see like a freaking full art Mewtwo as the last card on there, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. And they simplified the deck building of it, so you only build a deck of 20 cards, and you can have like 2 of each copy of a card in your deck. And so that's simplified. The battling's a little simplified, so it's like you knock out 3 of the other person's Pokemon and you win. Uh, yeah, all in all, I've just been really impressed with it and having a great time. My brother's on it, so we like send screenshots back and forth of the different
Nice.
cards we get from the packs. And yeah, if you are like collecting things and you don't want to be in a money pit by collecting real Pokemon cards, the Pocket TCG is awesome. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. However, if you have a gambling addiction and random draws and the ability to spend money on that stuff, it's a problem for you. Probably not for you,
Yeah,
because they
definitely
basically
don't.
do the thing. They do the thing where you rip the pack open with your finger, and then they show you the back of the cards, and you can only see one card at a time. You flip them over one by one, and it's always this big anticipation, like, is the next one going to be the super rare one?
Oh my god, it
And
feels so good.
oh, it feels good when it is, but
Yeah,
man, it's when you open up a pack of trainers or
yeah.
something weak that
I
you have a
haven't spent
thousand
any money on it, so I've been just opening the packs I get and
of.
having fun with that,
Yeah,
building decks. But yeah,
yeah,
fun little app.
good shout out because I have also been playing and that game is pretty fun.
You gotta send me your friend ID so I can
All
do
right,
some wonder picks from you.
all right, sounds good. What
um,
else you got?
Next over the fence, obviously went to Disney. Well, that's not obvious. I don't know if I even talked about that,
No, you haven't.
but I wasn't here on the podcast with my loyal leader Travis last week because we were in Disney World in Orlando. First time I've been since I was like 10. It was the first
Nice.
time our kids had gone. Our parents were generous enough to take us there. They'd been planning for it since basically our kids were born. Like, hey, we want to take them to Disney at some point. So we did, and my expectations were pretty low because in general I just don't like being around a lot of people, and I assumed we would just be standing in lines the whole time. But we got lightning passes and we were on things so quick, and it was amazing. Like, I might be a Disney adult because I want to go back there all the time.
Yeah.
Especially shout out to Hollywood Studios. That was my favorite. Going to Galaxy's Edge was the highlight of the trip for me. Like, feeling like you were literally in Star Wars the
It's
movie.
pretty
And
awesome.
yeah,
Walking around with the stormtroopers
yeah,
and like Ray and Chewbacca are sneaking around. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
yeah, it's so cool. But anyway, freaking Disney trip was great. I think the kids had fun too, but I honestly was so focused on all the fun I was having, I couldn't tell you. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I want to go back now with or without the kids. I want to go from me to go back to Galaxy's Edge, and I want to go to Universal next time and check
Oh yeah.
out the Hogwarts.
And
But
the new Mario
oh,
world
really?
just opened up. Yeah.
Like, we ate dinner in Hollywood in like the Toy Story land, and it was just so cool. Like, I don't even know if the food was good, but it just felt like you were in like a freaking toy box, and
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Did you did
yeah,
you go on Rise of the Resistance?
that was amazing.
It's incredible. It's probably the best special effects I've seen on a Disney ride, period.
Yeah, that
Phenomenal. It's
I
so
don't
cool.
I don't know if I ever should even go on another ride. That was just like an epic life experience. And it wasn't like, apparently I'm old now and I can't do roller coasters anymore. I was like getting sick on the freaking roller coasters, but that one did
Yeah.
not make me sick. You were just kind of like scooting around this area, but yeah, that was my favorite ride by a mile.
Oh yeah, me
And
too.
just being in Galaxy's Edge was awesome too. But yeah,
Excellent.
freaking Disney World, like they needed any more endorsement, but it's awesome.
Give Walt Disney your money. He needs your money.
Yeah. And the last thing, just fresh off the dome here, because last night we went to see Wicked,
Oh.
and it was amazing. Obvi- Up until 2 months ago, I'd never even seen The Wizard of Oz. And then
What?
because the kids were in that Wizard of Oz thing, I watched Wizard of Oz and watched their play 16 times. So Wizard of Oz is very familiar to me now. And I had no idea what Wicked was. Apparently, it's the prequel to Wizard of Oz. Um, and they just came out with the part one in theaters, and it's a musical. I love musicals. I was, I did not want it to be over. Gonna be
You're a
singing
theater
those.
dad. You're
I am,
officially a theater dad
yeah.
now.
I'll be singing those songs for the next 3 weeks now. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Wicked, you should.
It'll make you super popular.
Ooh,
Oh, like that.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we when we went to London this past year, we decided to go get tickets to go see Wicked
You
at
saw
the
it in
West
real
End.
life?
We saw it in real life, and we got to the. I don't know if Rachel has ever been to like a Broadway play or a any sort of live play like that. And we got to the intermission portion, and Rachel goes, "Is it over?"
Oh,
And she was like getting ready to like stand up and leave, and I'm like, "No, no, no, there's a second part coming." And she's like, "How long is this thing?" So I
apparently
think
very long.
we decided that we're not theater people. So good for you and Jared that have some class and like to
Well, you
experience
should
that
go
type of
watch the
stuff.
movie then. You don't even have to be a theater person to go see the movie.
I mean, I'll take my 2-month-old daughter and go see the movie. Yeah,
Oh, drop her off somewhere. There's plenty of people that want $20 for watching a baby.
yeah, that's probably true. So excellent.
Yeah. All right.
What
Now
else?
that's it. I've spoken too much, but I just hadn't talked to you in a while, and those things have been very important to me, and I wanted to tell you about it.
Most importantly, is your time in the Space Force coming to an end?
I am no longer going to work in the Space Force. I'm still
Wow.
technically a part of the Space Force until May, but I started up. Yeah, I probably should have mentioned this too. This obviously is probably the biggest thing that happened in my life, but it's been
Changing
overshadowed.
careers.
It's been overshadowed by Wicked.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I started my Skill Bridge internship this week. So just getting my feet wet there, working, trying to figure out some freaking software development. coding, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Good for you. Your watch has ended. You are done being Galactic Defender. Thank you for your service.
of course, sir. Keep serving.
Awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. So what's up with your life?
Man, I don't have all that much to brief. We've just been hanging out, being a bunch of bums, and watching lots of TV and movies as we do. And I read a couple books off of like TikTok, TikTok books, or whatever.
Hmm.
Like they're pushing these books, like, oh, these are the best horror books that I've ever read. So I was suckered into buying a couple of those, and honestly, I've been disappointed. So I think I'm going to think for myself from now on, and not to buy books that are recommended on social media. And then we've been going to a lot of German Christmas markets because we are in full swing of Christmas market season, and every little village in town has their own little one. But then you can go to the big cities that have these gigantic, sprawling ones. So when we go up to visit my brother-in-law next weekend, we're going to go to the Cologne one, which is like one of the biggest ones in Germany. It's huge. It's like right at the foot of their big Gothic castle. So really looking forward to that one. And then we'll do a couple other small ones around there.
Okay.
And yeah, it's like a whole thing. Like people come to Europe during this time of year just to go to Christmas markets and to collect those little mugs. So you go and you get your spiced wine that's called Glühwein, and you pay a deposit like €2, €3, €4 for these little mugs that have the city name printed on them with like a Christmas scene and a snowman or whatever it is. And people collect these things from all over the world. So we have our little micro collection of Christmas market mugs going, and it's been pretty fun just to go around and eat the food and see the towns and do all that sort of stuff. So
that's cool. But you also can just go to Epcot.
That's also true. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know why I would go to Europe when I've been to Epcot now. So.
Have you seen France? Well, I have been to Epcot.
Yes, I did eat some pizza in Italy last week.
Yep,
so
that's right. You've been to Paris? Yeah, I've been to Paris, Las Vegas, Paris, France, Las Vegas, or whatever, Paris, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh man, awesome.
Well, that's
did
cool.
we do it?
We did
Episode 17.
It's good to be back.
Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back to all. And
I hate that we've gone into Over the Fence because I wanted to give like either a shout out or like a heads up that our premiere on Gamesy Moss was going to be coming out.
Oh yeah.
So if you're still listening,
just record a promo, and I'll move it up to the very beginning of the episode.
Oh my gosh, that's too much work. Let's just hope somebody's listening till the end.
Yeah. So we actually had the opportunity and the privilege to appear on the Games Moss podcast with Vic. And Vic is a tremendous host. His podcast is really cool. We did a segment on Castles of Burgundy and whether it deserves a place on your top shelf of your game collection or if it needs to be sent to the yard sale. Not going to spoil anything here, but go and listen to that podcast. Vic is a phenomenal guy, super smart. He's got a great production going. You can check him out on YouTube, Instagram. And so look forward to our episode on Games Moss podcast, probably coming out later on this week. So
yeah, we'll post it when it comes out.
Absolutely.
That's it then.
Okay. All right. This has been episode 17 of the Operation Game Night podcast. I am your host, Travis Smith. He is your co-host, Clayton Gable.
Yes, I am.
And we're out.
All right, see ya. The outro's going.